Welcome, everyone, from wherever you're joining us around the world. And remember to get in touch with the person who informed you about this. That's your sponsor. They'll tell you more about things that may go by very quickly in the presentation. And I'm just going to launch straight into it. I had no idea that this little patch would make my life so transformed and that of so many others in my world. And so the question is, have you been patched yet? And one thing I do want to say about Lifewave at the beginning is that all Lifewave products are free from drugs, chemicals, and stimulants. And it's a wellness technology. Lifewave does not claim to treat or cure any disease. Well, with that in mind, I want to jump to this photo of varicose veins. And these are not my veins, but that's one of my issues. And I wanted to lead off with this now for my team as well, because I realized, in addition to many of my other benefits, after now pushing 7.5 months, that I've had a major victory, shall we say, or a development in my own varicose veins. My mother, who's 94, has varicose veins. So does my brother, a lot of people in the family. 17 years ago, I had even endovenous laser ablation. And that did some things. It altered, because I don't have these kinds of spider veins everywhere so much anymore, but I do have these kind of ropey places that are quite thick. And about a month ago, after doing some significant exercise, which I'll probably refer to later, that I had some new pains in my right leg behind my calf. And that included this place where there's this kind of pooling blood. I had seen that I could apply not just one, but two X39s, and I actually did it right to the spot. I did that for 4 days. I even used 3 on one day. And since then, it's been remarkable. My fiance has also commented on it. She's like, your veins are way better. So that's significant. I also wanted to say, lead off with my own story, because many may know that I lived a very long life and career as a concert pianist and professor. And I had no idea that, as I said, that this little thing right here could change my life the way it has. And being involved with this company, where its genius inventor and CEO, Dr. David Schmidt, invented these patches, these phototherapy patches that we'll be exploring more in depth shortly, has just made such a difference for me. My biggest story to date has been my sciatica, which I've had for about 8 to 10 years in a significant way. That is, I remember 8 years ago when I finally found something that seemed to work for me. And in my case, that was Ayurvedic herbs. I would take the herbs and I did experiments. There were times once that was inadvertent. Why I went on a business and pleasure trip. It kept me 10 days away and I had forgotten my herbs. And the day after I came back, it was not pretty. I would teach, and I was teaching a class of pianists in a class piano room, and my back just gave way completely. That happened other times as well when I experimented with that. But what I'm bringing it up for is that now I've been off of the sciatica herbs for 3 months solid, not a twinge of sciatica, and I am over the moon about this. And that's just one of the kinds of stories that I hear all the time, and my people on my team here as well. The people who are able to stop using various meds, often pharmaceutical medicines and others, often taking all kinds of meds and supplements for hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, which makes it such a no-brainer to try out these patches. I mean, it's just that easy. I mean, I've watched so many presentations of people in the upline, people who have been doing this for longer. And one fellow really impressed me. He said, any way you look at this, it's cheap. And we know that everyone has a different story about what that is. But when you look at what it costs for a course of stem cells, which again, we'll go into more in depth in a few minutes, that can be $10,000 to $50,000 for one course of someone else's stem cells. And as you're going to see, this technology that is revolutionizing the way that the paradigm, I would say, for what we can do to assist our bodies to use the light that courses through our own body, is so astonishing. It is absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm just trying to think of other things I wanted to write for myself to remember. I do have tremendously more energy, if you can imagine that, and more stamina. And I also sleep really well, and I don't get up at night. I'm 61 right now, and this isn't significant for me because I have a fiance who's turning 49 next week. And so I have to keep up with her, partly because she is an elite athlete and partly because she's 49. So I just wanted to mention that, and I'm going to go through a few other stories before getting to the science and later the business opportunity. So these are just a couple of photos, before and afters. There are literally hundreds, probably thousands at this point. This is just one that we share of an example of somebody with a cut and after 24 hours of wearing the patch. Here's another person that I noticed last week. Um, One of our leaders, Renita Brannon, shared of her friend. She said early on when Renita was trying these out, her friend sent this photo on the left of this terrible skin condition she had. And the friend had heard Renita talking about the success that Renita had experienced with her parents. And she said, "Do you think it could help me?" And Renita said, "I don't know, but it seems worth a try." And this, the photo on the right, is what her friend sent her 5 days after using the patch. This is in our team a very famous photo, and again, it's of Renita Brannon's father. For the photo on the left was taken of her father's leg. He had had for many months this condition that didn't even get a diagnosis from dermatologists and other specialists, but he even had resorted to taking a steroid shot at the doctor's recommendation, even though Renita pleaded with him not to take it because she said, "It's going to come back. It's going to be angrier than ever." And sure enough, it did. And it swelled up to this level. And the scale of this is similar, that the leg on the right is what happened after 1 day, 24 hours on the patch. And that is when Renita and her husband knew that they had something quite special. So this is of Linda. I just found this morning in our group's chat. Linda began her journey with the X39 and Lifewave just a few weeks before I did. So I've been able to watch her journey. But she posted this morning after 8 months on the X39, as well as some other patches. She just has better health overall. I've watched and seen her chart the journey early on. She had quite rapid results with her hip and knee pain. Her eyesight's improved. She's a lot stronger. And I look forward to hearing more about how she's skiing. I know she's posted how she's just so much more active. She was talking about, when I just got on board, how doctors were already sort of preparing her for some, like she has a prosthesis, or she did. She can tell that later on. And how they were basically preparing her for the next stage of aging. And this is the miracles that we experience all the time. I watched a video that Renita just captured of a woman who had had open heart surgery. And the woman was sort of pushed in front of the camera by her son, who is a medical doctor. And this woman said that she had had open heart surgery over 10 years earlier. And her new cardiologist said, "Mrs. Newman, what's going on? Your heart is actually getting younger. That's not supposed to happen." And she said, "It's because of this patch. It's because of this phototherapy, what I'm using." So another one that was just posted this morning that reminds me of others that I've seen myself. If you look at this is before the X39. So we'll talk just a little bit about David Schmidt and his genius and what he has produced for us. And this is on two other patches, the Eon and Carnosine, before the X39. And after 13 days, look at the ability of this person to write. I have seen similar things. I saw an account of someone's daughter. She came and spoke to our team and showed us her mother's results with being on just the X39 for her Alzheimer's. And one of the Alzheimer's tests is to draw the face of a clock, and she was given the instruction to draw 820 and to draw a traditional clock face from 1 to 12. And I remember that the before photo showed that she put all of the circle wasn't too bad, but the 1 to 12 stopped it around where we would put 7 o'clock. Then the next one, which was about 5 weeks later, it was astonishing. She put the 12 in the right place. The one was not quite in the right place. And the woman with the Alzheimer's diagnosis self-corrected. She scratched it out and they left it there. And she put the one, and the rest of them were placed quite well around the clock. I mean, none of us would think anything was amiss if any of us so-called neurotypical people were able to do this. These kind of things are happening repeatedly. I see mental clarity. I see it among the pianists in my world, including people on my team. It's just so exciting. So let's talk about David Schmidt for a little bit. He is the inventor of the X39, and he has actually more than 150 patents. He stopped counting, and he's specialized more recently, as in the late aughts, with age reversal. And so when we talk about the X39, we're talking not merely about anti-aging, but actual age reversal. And we'll get to the science of the copper peptide and how it stimulates our stem cells in just a few minutes. The recent patents on the X39 actually took $4.5 million and 10 years to bring to market. And now this fellow is producing so much. Well, why did I want to feature a little bit about his beginning? Because Lifewave has just gotten to its 20th anniversary. And what he's got in the pipeline, it's just so incredible. But the start was with something that is still being marketed by Lifewave, and I've used it myself, and it's called the energy enhancers. Energy enhancers are being used by all kinds of elite athletes and regular people as well. You see David Beckham here, Serena Williams. One of my favorites is Ray Allen, if you don't know him from the Miami Heat. Also Michael Phelps. I mean, it's really quite astounding. And now look at this. Look who's using the patches now. Bobby Kennedy Jr. is using the X39. If you look at the back of his neck, just at the edge of his shirt line there, you can actually see the X39 patch there. And that is just a great sign for changing the paradigm of what we all thought was normal. You know, we've all been programmed to believe that there's a certain way to do things, and maybe that we needed a pill or a shot or something. And technology is showing us that there may be a better way. So this is Peter Sage, the great motivational speaker and teacher. And I mention him because he is preparing for a Herculean event in about less than a month. He and another fellow will be traversing the Atlantic Ocean from the Canary Islands to Antigua for probably almost 2 months in just the two of them, and they'll be rowing for 2 hours on, 2 hours off. You got that right. They will never get to sleep more than probably an hour and a half at any stretch. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. And he is having tremendous results. We'll be charting his journey, and delighted that he's having this. I encourage you to also check out his site, teamcheerfulness.com, where you can find out about what he's doing for charity and perhaps contribute if you are behind his efforts. I'm putting this here because I want to prepare the next slide. And that is, I recently returned with my fiance from Punta Cana. It was a Lifewave trip. There were over 1,000 people connected to Lifewave, if we include family. And it was just, we came back less than 2 weeks ago. And they had a fabulous gym there. And as I said, my fiance is an elite athlete, a former professional athlete. She loves the gym. It's her happy place. And in that gym, it had a body composition test. And that is something where it charts your fat percentage, muscle percentage, water, visceral fat, and your metabolic age. So she took the test, and they said that her metabolic age was 18. And so we don't have any before and afters for her or for me, but she's somebody who was pretty healthy coming in and didn't really, here we are with the parrots on the beach 11 days ago in Punta Cana. And she had joked about how before this, that she really should be being compensated by Lifewave for modeling the patches. And you can see, I didn't know this was going to happen, but a fellow with parrots came by and did a fabulous job of us being able to take photos. And you can see 4 strategically placed patches there, but it was not a photo shoot. There was no fan. This was just totally the universe conspiring. I took the same metabolic test, and I was thinking, oh boy, what's going to happen? And I came out at 22. We can't prove that the patches did it, At every level, my intuition says it was involved, but just letting you know. These are the hands of Alondra, who is a member of my team based in South Africa. She's not able to make today's meeting. I just communicated with her before this because this morning she posted this as an update, although I've seen this photo before because she also began her journey a few weeks before I did. And so she's been 8 months using the X39 and some of the other patches. She said she had this skin condition since she was 16. And you can see that on the left. This is just after 48 hours. I'm going to ask her to post some photos from 8 months now because I believe they're quite a bit better. She's talked about other things, including wrinkles going away. And for me, even though this is astonishing, I find it even more crazy and wonderful that she has had a diagnosis for a long time of type 2 red flag diabetes. And with that comes, those of you who are familiar with the readings of glucose, it was in the 18 mmol. And that is very, very dangerous, very serious. And very soon after using the X39, and it has been sustained since then, it dropped down to 6 and 5. It's been in that range for the rest of that time. It is amazing. So the question is, what do you know about stem cells? Well, if you're like I was, you probably didn't know that much. You might have noticed there was some controversy about them, but I didn't know that the fewer stem cells you have, that of course it takes you longer to heal. And I think about my daughter when she fell on her face on her foot caught a soft hurdle when she was about 11, and her face looked like a horror scene. And she healed so quickly because young people have so many more stem cells. I didn't know that by age 30, only half of your stem cells are active. These are the cells that can differentiate and go to where your body really needs them. But by age 60, you lose, well, here, this slide says almost all of your stem cell activity. I would say you're lucky if you have still 10% of your stem cells active. And so, hundreds of millions of people are experiencing these symptoms is what this slide says. That's true, but it's really everybody. We're all losing our stem cells if we're not having this remarkable technology that no one else has. Well, this book, written by Lauren Picard, I have here as well. His research was 51 years ago. The book is a little bit more recent than that. He only passed in 2023. But he discovered the copper peptide. A peptide is a chain of amino acids that's smaller than a protein. But we have between 5 and 7,000 peptides. But this one, the GHK copper peptide, is essential for anti-aging. It also helps you with skin, reduces the fine lines, as you see in this slide. There are other things that it does to fight pain and anxiety. There are numerous benefits from activating your GHK copper peptide, which resets your genes and activates your own stem cells. That's how it was proven in these patents. And the patents are available at thisisitinfo.com, which you'll see again that I'll put there. It also has studies, including double-blind placebo-controlled studies about the results. There are over 80 papers that support the science, and we have so many doctors. I meet people. My brother-in-law contacted me. To be clear, he's my ex-brother-in-law, but he's somebody who is extremely, what shall we say? I would say intellectual, but I'm intellectual too. I like there's a balance of intellect, and it's nothing against that. But somebody who only will believe what some of the three-letter agencies will put out. And so the thing that I was trying to stress is, yes, there are so many stories that are anecdotal, but at a certain point, you look at what is a press release that's supposedly science by a potentially corrupt or, say, co-opted taken over organization versus what is actual science. And so I encourage people not to follow scientism. And in this case, we do have the science as well. And that's why there are so many doctors as well. There are many doctors who are schooled to believe, as we all were, that the way to address challenges is through a pill or through surgery or perhaps a shot. And that just doesn't always work for people. And so it's great to have these other options, and these are available. And so when people are at least have some ability to think this much outside of the box that we all were schooled in, then we find so much great resources available to us at places like thisisitinfo.com. Again, remember that this is kind of the first step on your journey, and get in touch with the person who shared this with you or this video with you, and they will, of course, also help you to get started, and including with the best price. So how does the X39 work? Well, it is proprietary, and it's nanocrystals that basically there's nothing transdermal at all. There's no drugs. Like when those, I didn't explain much more about the energy enhancers. Those were originally developed 20 years ago, a little bit more than that, by David Schmidt to help those who travel in submarines or and the Navy SEALs. And because you imagine how miserable it would be to be stuck in a submarine for a long time. I think it's often at least 60 days. And that sounded really exciting when I was a boy, but if you think about it practically, you're going to cramp quarters, you can't exercise, they all come out with decreased muscle mass. And this proved to be a godsend because they were able to activate their own light with these nanocrystal particles and the energy enhancer patches. And that stimulated them to be able to have much more energy and mental clarity and just other great results. Well, we then found they were discovered by athletes. First, the Stanford swim team, and their athletes placed with better times than they ever had. And two of them made the Olympics, and the competition noticed. They're like, what are they wearing? They want to know that this is on the up and up because they figured they must be cheating or that they were doping or something. Well, they were, of course, investigated and found that there was nothing transdermal, there was nothing illegal, and no drugs, chemicals, or stimulants. So it's rather amazing how the X39 reflects light to activate all these things. So you can read more about how this activates your stem cells, and because the GHK copper peptide is capable of up and down regulating at least 4,000 genes. And so you basically reset that and repair your DNA to a healthier state. So the basic thing is you wear the patch for 12 hours on and 12 hours off. Actually, full disclosure, I'm more of the person who brush my teeth in the morning. I put an X39 on. I usually also wear the X49, but the X39 is the hero patch. It's the main thing that we all wear. And then brushing my teeth at night, I take the patch off and throw it away, put a new patch on the next day. You can wear more than one at a time, but of course that they do say that after putting 3 on, David Schmidt himself has said that it's kind of the law of diminishing utility. And of course, it's going to be more of an investment for that. Really important to drink lots of water and to get a lot of electrolytes. The 2 test places for where the X39 was tested is on the back of the neck and on just below the navel. But you don't have to just wear it there, because the beauty of the X39 is that it's systemic. And so it can actually be placed anywhere on the body. I personally like to put it where I can get good adhesion, so not in the webbing of the hand, although that is an impressive acupressure point that is helpful for and recommended for some of the other patches in the I was going to say repertoire, that's a musical thing, in the house of products, I guess you should say. But the X39 again is the main product. So again, some of the benefits, if I first listed my own, I would say, again, increased strength, mental clarity, increased stamina, improved sleep, and energy and vitality. I think I haven't stared at many of my before and after photos or before photos, but improved skin appearance is something reported by my fiance and others. And then many others also experience reduced inflammation and restored muscle or skeletal conditions. I already mentioned about the mental clarity that goes along with those sort of deficiencies, or shall I say the dementia and Alzheimer kinds of conditions. But people with a wide range of diagnoses, including Parkinson's, MS, and others, and the big C, have experienced remarkable results. And so I just want to say again that Lifewave does not diagnose, treat, or cure or prevent any disease or medical condition, because we remember all those terms are owned by other entities, but they don't own our organs or our symptoms, and people are allowed to talk about their stories. And you notice that's all I've said is people may have had these diagnoses. My colleague who's not here today that I mentioned earlier, Alondra, I haven't asked her point blank recently, but I think I did hear her speak of her diagnosis of diabetes in the past tense. I did hear Renita talk about her mother as having had a diagnosis of Parkinson's. And after 2 years on the patches, she has reversed that. Renita doesn't believe she has Parkinson's anymore. And in fact, her mother is back in her own retirement community, playing cards with her girlfriends, making breakfast, doing, a lot of active things again. So many people are experiencing the sense of becoming 10 to 20 years younger in feel, whether they have a metabolic age test or not. So these are the actual brain scans of a 77-year-old woman who had an X39 placed before session 1. And then after 3 weeks, you can see that her brain is having increased coherence and the inflammation is gone. And then it's better brain coherence considered in the mixture of colors there at the end. I can't claim to be an expert on these scans, but the second and third confirmed that the X39 was having a remarkable result. Some of the things you can expect in the first 6 months, which I wouldn't even call long-term now, because when I see especially the people who had really serious situations, including, I already mentioned Parkinson's, but there are some tremendous testimonials from after 2 and 3 years of using the X39. But in the first few days, your genes do begin to reset, and then the brain becomes better balanced within 6 weeks. The collagen is really helpful for the skin transformations, and then the heart actually reverses in age. And that's been demonstrated by those scans of various organs, and in this case, including the heart, as I talked about that woman who had the open heart surgery. So when David Schmidt says it's not merely anti-aging, it's age reversing, it's absolutely demonstrably true. So electrolytes are really important along with water, so get excited about them. Minerals, that means salt, some potassium as well. You can always refer back to this later. There will be a recording available of this for those who are here live, and you can check again the various benefits of electrolytes. And remember to visit thisisit.info.com. Just a little bit more about the company. And that is that Lifewave is rather, when I talk to some of my friends, when you think about at this point, it is not hyperbole to make comparisons with what would it be like if I got involved with Apple or Amazon or Google in the early days. Even though it's a 20-year-old company, that's actually a real benefit because they've faced some adversity that I got to hear David Schmidt even talk about at the convention in October, just last month. And they're way stronger, so much more diverse. But the X39 was the game changer. And that is when that appeared, it went from a $20 to $40 million company, I think, in 2021 up to $320 million in 2022. And then last year it ended at $430 million. It's on track to finish above 600 million this year and over $1 billion next year. And with what David Schmidt has coming up now, we're looking at a multiple billion-dollar company. This is kind of, I don't know if it's completely unheard of, but it's extraordinary. And as this says, it's not a Me Too product like most companies. It's not weight loss or skincare. Somebody, if I came along to you and I said, "Oh, I've got this great weight loss product," you'd probably want to smack me. But when you have something like this that can reactivate your own stem cells, it's like, sign me up. It's like you don't know what's going to happen. And that's what's amazing is we are all unique and unrepeatable beings that can we don't know what's going to happen for sure. What is our body going to do with this new stem cell activity? And it just keeps getting better and better. Lifewave, unsurprisingly, is the number one growth company in its space. It's received the Global Bravo Award for this year. And so if you decide to join as a wholesale member, there are three main options for that. You can join at the core level, which is three sleeves of X39 for if you're in dollars, that's $295. If you're in a European country, it is higher in euros, but the VAT, I believe, is included. But we tend to denominate things in dollars for these presentations, but I do want to say up front that it is more. Once again, I will also say, though, by any measure, this is extremely affordable and it comes with a money back guarantee. So if you join as a wholesale member, you do have a 30-day money back guarantee. And if someone wanted to just merely be a customer, just tiptoe in, you just register as a customer. There's a small fee for that. And you can get retail for a X39 sleeve, which is 30 patches, is $150. But that's easy to go down to drop that all the way to 100 if you just agree to get on auto ship. The only benefit, I personally have only had one customer, and everyone else in my organization is a brand partner or a wholesale member. And that's because the wholesale price is just so much better, and it sets you up immediately to share the opportunity with others. And I know I have people in my organization, they're like, no, I'm not interested at all. Like they just don't want to do that. And I completely understand that. I will pause at the moment where I will talk about this some more for those who really say, no, I don't care about any of that. But the thing is, we have the health opportunity and the financial freedom opportunity, and it's absolutely changing lives. And if people think that doesn't make a difference, believing in multiple streams of income, oh my goodness, it does. It really makes a difference. I just thought of a story one time in my world, in the academic world of music. I guess I don't know if I should name the actual organizations, but they're both top music schools. And I went to visit one in Texas where, let's say, they had a lot of endowment and old oil money. Now, this was 30 years ago, but the people who had come from another school in the Midwest that was very respected, and they were now teaching at this school in Texas, backstage, they were talking about their experience at their old school. And they said, it was just, there wasn't a sense of we can do this. And it was always, even just with operating budgets, operating expenses, even money for, even photocopies, let alone materials for students. And one of them, a husband-wife team, said, you wouldn't think that money would make that much difference. And there was a pregnant pause, and it was like, but it does. And that's so true in people's lives. And more as people are really just struggling to make ends meet, you can find that not only with what I spoke about earlier, that people in their own taking charge of their own health journey, rewriting their health story, that they're able to just actually save so much money, in addition to stop putting things into their body that are just not helpful. Somebody on my team right now, his name is Fuad. He has an amazing story. He was in pain for 28 years. 28 years. He was in a horrific accident. And Fuad, who lives in Canada, I'm on full screen, so I'm not sure if he's on the call right now. If he is, I may ask him to tell his story. He's been at the last couple of these meetings, and after 5 days, his pain, which had been hanging around between 7 and 10, as I understand it, for 28 years, just try to imagine that, had dropped down to 2, and within a very short time, it's dropped to 0. And he hasn't had that pain since. And since then, he's been able to sleep. his scars are actually disappearing. That I can't wait till he's really ready to show. He says, I have the before and afters. He's shown them to his ex-wife in person, like he's, because it's in a private place in some of these things. And so he's just over the moon, like as I've described some of my things, but I cannot even imagine what it's like to have your life back. And that I've literally seen. I was counting last night. I said, it's actually more than 15 people have actually used those exact words, or at least one of the two. I feel like I have my life back, or I have my life back. That makes me so jazzed. Like I've always wanted to reach people through my music, and I continue to be passionate about that. But to see people's lives transformed, it's like, why wouldn't you? It's incredible. So I'm going to pause at this spot because for anybody who has what they need about the health and wellness opportunity, I encourage you to get in touch with your sponsor and explore this some more. I'm just going to spend a couple more minutes on the financial opportunity. And so asking you, what is most important in your life? You look at these things and you think about family or time, security, better health, of course, less debt. I hope everybody wants to get out of debt. But all of these come to me, they do center around freedom. Freedom is a real core thing for me personally, because all of these things tend to contribute to me having more freedom. And sharing really is caring. When you know about this, you feel like, how can I keep this to myself? And we come across all kinds of resistance. As I said, we've all been programmed so much. And so a common question is, is this some sort of pyramid scheme? And the answer immediately is no, pyramid schemes are illegal. But that shows the way that we are programmed to think. A lot of us have had negative associations with multi-level marketing, which indeed this is, although we talk about it as direct marketing or network marketing. And in fact, I had a negative experience 28 years ago myself with my one other experience with a network company. I loved the product. It was some blue-green algae that I actually still take in a generic form. It made me feel like Superman. I still believe it's really a healthful supplement. But the company was not sort of ethically or spiritually centered in a way that made me feel confident that this was a good way to work. And also, it just didn't really produce the kind of results. And unsurprisingly, the company didn't survive very long. Lifewave's been around for 20 years, and it's only getting stronger and stronger. One of the ways that you can gain commissions or bonuses, actually, the first one is just by introducing the product to someone. There is a product introduction bonus back on that page that I was over here on, right here. So if you introduce somebody to the core package, then you initially get an introduction bonus of $35. At the advanced level, $75. And if someone starts right at premium, as I did, you would, if you're the sponsor, you actually make $405. So those are product introduction bonuses. And then you have what is, frankly, the most confusing thing for many people. But I'm saying that in a way to say, don't worry about that. It's actually quite elegant and simpler than the networks that I and others have described before, because you just think about how you have two sides of what's called a binary, and you sponsor people on one side or the other. This is all figured out in your back office when you have your own website, which once you join as a wholesale member, you have your own website. It's just as beautiful as mine and everybody else's. It's just duplicatable. It's fabulous. If you haven't seen that yet, make sure you look at your sponsor's website, because you would have the same thing. And then you sponsor two people on the left, two people on the right, and you'll become manager. And then there are these other ranks, as you see, and these are the maximum cycle payouts that happen based on you being part of a team. So instead of a company like Lifewave putting its dollars into advertising in a traditional way, such as, say, a big pharmaceutical company, who also might use lobbying dollars to influence and or place some of their executives or former executives into some of those maybe three-letter agencies, there is none of that spent that way. So that's why it all goes back in what I believe is an ethical capitalism model that allows you to take advantage of this. And that's why people like myself we just stay authentic because all we do is tell the truth about what our stories are and see you can point people to what everything else is that's going on. And it's so easy to verify both with people's stories and the science. So the binary is a great place to sort of turbocharge your income. And those who, like if you, as I liked how somebody said in another presentation, somebody's been around for a couple of years. They said, look, this is not get rich quick. You have to work. But if you work it, you want to just cover your patches a little bit, a few hours here and there, you can do that. If you work at part-time, you're going to make decent part-time. If you work at full-time, you're going to make really good money. And the average, I saw a great presentation recently, the average amount of time it takes people to reach this top rank of senior presidential director, where you can get up to $25,000 per week, is actually 24 months. And the average salary for that person is $396,000. That's of the people now since the X39 has been introduced. So since the average salary is considerably less than that, probably I heard a figure that's somewhere in the 60s for a whole year. When you're looking at $1.3 million for being a senior presidential director, potentially, and an average of $400,000 per year in the first at the end of 2 years, you're looking at a tremendous business opportunity with such a minimum amount of investment. There's really no investment above what you're paying for patches. Like, think about it that way. You're actually only thing you're paying for is the patches, and then you are part of this this incredible organization with tremendous support, working with your friends and colleagues. It's not the paradigm that I grew up in being in academia for 32 years. And so look at this. If you get I do like this way of being compensated, and that is if you enroll people, it goes 3 levels where you actually get a check match. So if I sponsor Fuad on my first round, and if Fuad were to make $1,000 in a week, I would get a matching check of $250. And if somebody under Fuad becomes someone really is working the business and makes $1,000 in a week, then I would be getting $200. If that person works it up to making $5,000 a week, I will be making $1,000. So you can see how when we're incentivized to work with one another to create teams, and the people who are helping the most people are actually also making the most money. And so that's when I talk about ethical capitalism. I think that's the way that it's a way to actually really recognize who's really working things in a way that makes a lot of sense. So as another way you can earn the trips, as the one that we went to Punta Cana in, and this just talks about ways that you can go to the first 3 ranks. Manager, it's very easy to get to manager. A lot of people get to manager in just a matter of a few days. Sometimes the average is a few weeks, but I signed up a woman who is 82 now. And within her first 5 days, she had 2 people signed up. And, because she's having such fabulous results herself. And that's what happens. Not everybody has the rapid results. As I mentioned, my fiance doesn't feel like she's had such incredible results, although I, as a detail-oriented person, I notice a lot of things. But many people do. And as Dr. Schmidt recognizes and advises us, is to patch for at least 1 month for each decade of life we've lived. But we're finding that, that the outliers on the far end is usually 6 to 7 months. But if you take all kinds of before photos and then you have scans and health, if you have any kind of health issues, in my own experience, again, none of us has a crystal ball, but I do find that those who have more issues, actually, in my experience, they're the ones who tend to experience more rapid results. And because, as Fuad said, he's the guy who was supposed to be on poisons for the rest of his life. And he's now chemical free for over 3 months. He was on 7 cups of coffee, and he's been on 0 for more than 3 months. I think it's 4 months now. And it's just really thrilling. So it's your time to make moves. So if you're serious about this, get started with the X39. And if you wanted to also explore a financial freedom opportunity, the person who invited you here can help you with that as well. So anyhow, make sure I'm on the speaker view. I guess I'm going to shift to gallery here. And if there are any questions, I don't think I'm not seeing any questions right here, right now.
Fred,
Just be
I have a question.
okay.
Um, you talked about sciatic pain. What patches do you recommend for that kind of pain?
Right. For me personally, of course, the X39, we just keep restating that that's a given. We always use the X39. But in addition to that, depending on the person, in my case, I found that carnosine I use on occasion, but the one that I've been the most regular with for me has been the X49. But that I found that it's variable. Some of the people on my team know that I also work with applied kinesiology. I've worked with energy medicine for some time. So I tune into my own body's signal. So I can't say the same is for everyone. I believe that I've heard that someone else has had success with glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant, and the glutathione patch, for those who want something additional, that actually increases glutathione 300% in the first 24 hours, as opposed to glutathione oral supplements. You take them for a month and you only get a 15% increase in glutathione. So anyhow, to your question, for sciatica, X39 for sure. And then the other ones that often come into play is the Eon patch, which formerly was, before the X39 existed, that was often the go-to patch. It's the second most popular patch still, and it deals a lot with anti-inflammation, among other things. So with that in
Thank
mind,
you. Thank you.
thank you, Nancy. And actually, we have just a couple minutes. Nancy, is there anything else that you have a tremendous story yourself? Do you have an update? I'll say to everyone that Nancy is one of my mentors for when I was at conservatory in my early 20s, and she supervised my assistantship. She's a terrific concert pianist herself. It's up to her if she wants to say how old she is today, but she has returned to performing in a new way since she got the X39 that allowed her more mental clarity, the ability to learn music more quickly, and to reclaim music from her youth. It's really rather astonishing. Would you like to say a few words, Nancy? I see you're muted, by the way.
There?
There.
Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you.
I just returned from, I have to say, I put myself under a lot of pressure since July. Um, and between October and November 2nd, I I traveled, I gave 3 concerts, master class, lecture, recital, and learned a lot of repertoire, solo and chamber music, and it was fantastic. Uh, I was quite tired when I came back, but there is the mental clarity is something I had not lost really, but it became transformed in a way that is I would have to sit down and write it down. But what I think uh, is happening is that the is like the Buddhists talk about memory, like they do a practice where they com- create little compartments where they place memory cells or memory since they want to recall.
Yes.
And I think it's like an arrangement or a rearrangement of the places in the brain, which I cannot really explain. But that would be something curious to analyze. I had a doctor friend who was doing a study on the brains of musicians. She was fascinated when I played for her because she said the brains of musicians are arranged in a very different way. When I started with the X39, I felt that my something was changing, but I cannot quantify. I cannot explain it. But it's really wonderful. Uh, I
It's
think
really
I overdid it. I overdid it, and I pay for it. But I'm resting a lot. Oh, one of the good things is that I can sleep a lot better.
so terrific. Yeah, it's really incredible. And I have a couple other pianists in my organization, and they're reporting similar things. A couple of them helped me to realize, like, oh, I'm playing Bach, which is extremely complicated music, contrapuntal music, so much better. And the way I'm hearing, there's just so many remarkable things. So, well, thank you for sharing your story. It's so, as you know, we hear these kinds of testimonies every single day, and we are the lucky ones. So thank you to all. And if you're new to Lifewave, get in touch with your sponsor right away, and he or she can help you get started at the best price and help you guide you towards what is right for your particular situation. Take care.
Okay, you too.
All right, so long.
Bye.